it should be noted that your police department, your mayor, no one was standing up for you guys. No one was trying to correct the record. All this misinformation was being put out there, and the media ran with it. And the guys who are supposed to be protecting you're not allowed to speak. Investigations are going on. You're not allowed to say anything, and you shouldn't say anything. But those around you should try to be correcting the record, and they weren't, I believe, because they were partisans who were too afraid to stand up on your behalf. So you walk into the apartment, and how many cops are there? There's you and who else?
There's 7 of us total
inside the Breonna Taylor's apartment.
Well, we never made it inside. We were in the doorway, in the breezeway area of the 8-plex, and there was 7 of us outside, one to the right knocking, myself on the left with a couple of guys behind me, and then where the other guys could fit in by the stairway. And so we never made it in. Once the door was breached or came open, I cleared from outside visually what I could see from right to left. In the living room, I remember the couches, the colors. And as soon as I stepped into the frame of the door before I made entry in, I encountered Kenneth Walker and Breonna Taylor about 25, 30 feet down a hallway. And he was already in a shooter stance. And as soon as my body cleared in that open area, he fired around, and all we could do was return fire and try to get out of the way.
Had you ever had anybody shoot their gun at you prior while on the force? You'd been on 23 years at that point?
Yeah, 21 years. And yeah, I've had a few. The closest one I had was back in 2010. I was serving a search warrant then. And when I went to open the screen door, I yanked it, and the handle broke off. And as I stepped back so the ram guy could hit the door, someone shot through the door and went right past my head. The glass cut me. And but we couldn't see back in this house. We had no visual target, so we didn't return fire. We retreated and called the suspect out, and subsequently he went to prison for several years over this, and Kenneth Walker didn't on this case.
In fact, they dropped all charges against him. So,
correct.
So all you know is you've been shot at, and what could you see down the hallway? It was how far away were the bodies, the figures that you were looking at, and what could you make out of them?
So it was about 25, 30 feet, and it was something totally different than I'd ever encountered on any search warrant. You know, we've tried to calculate, it's around 2,000 search warrants where I've made entry. And on this one, generally, people are either running or they're there giving up or they're in another room hiding, something to that effect. I've encountered a few with guns that had to make split-second decisions. And fortunately for both of us, it didn't turn out like this situation where they actually dropped their gun or they surrendered. And this one, when I turned the corner, all I could see was down the hall, a larger figure to my right, which was the left of the hall, but to my right was a larger figure, and right next to him, almost in the same, was a smaller figure. And I had never seen that. So my mind, your brain is working so quick. I saw this and was like, something's off, you know, but by that time, everything's happening so quick, it's too late. And so they were almost like one person. And what you can't tell by what you've heard in the accounts given was there's a wall that the hallway was super narrow. It was a more narrow hallway than most. And on the side where Kenneth Walker was standing was a inset. And as soon as he shot, he dove out of the way. And unfortunately, Breonna tried to follow him into the other bedroom.
Oh, wow. Oh, I didn't realize, because he shot one bullet and then dove out of eyesight,
and
leaving her there. Oh, my God. Because
first of all, if you think somebody's breaking into your house as a man, are you going to tell your girlfriend to come with you?
No.
Or would you say, you call the police and stand here, I'll go check it out?
Yes, so do not come out in the hallway.
Yeah, I don't understand the logic behind it. Because I remember when I woke up from surgery, one of the first things I asked my wife, I said was, man, I would love to sit down and talk to him and ask him why. Why were y'all like that? That just blew my mind, because, you know, after 21 years, you think you've seen everything, and then something new pops up and you're like, that just didn't make sense to me.
Right. They don't normally run out into harm's way with their girlfriend by their side.
Right.
And so did you know immediately you'd been shot? That may be a dumb question, but, you know, did you feel it? Did you feel the searing pain?
I knew immediately. I was able to return fire. And then when I stepped back out of the doorway is when I reached down and felt, and I could feel a handful of blood. And I knew leg wounds typically don't bleed a whole lot unless you hit an artery. So I even announced right there at the doorway to the guys that I'd been hit and in my artery. And so it was a surreal situation.
That is 100% a potentially fatal injury. There's zero
Yes.
question. You get shot in your femoral artery, you could be dead soon unless you get immediate medical attention. And is your understanding, when you've been shot or shot at as a police officer, because we have a lot of these debates, you shoot to kill, do you not? I mean, people say like, well, you could shoot to wound. You could, speak to that.
What we're taught is to shoot to stop the threat, regardless of what that is. If it's one shot and they give up and we miss, or if you have to do repeated shots to stop the threat from coming at you or coming at the public, then that's what you do. Because it's not like TV where, you get shot in the leg and you just fall down, or, even a shot to the head. I mean, we've seen that repeatedly where people just keep fighting and going. So you do whatever it takes to stop the threat. And if that means death, then that means death. But, we hope for the best outcome, but it's an ugly business.
So when you didn't fire until you heard his gun go off?
Correct.
And so how many seconds? I could
see the flash, I could see the muzzle, feel the impact.
Yeah, because another book says 12 seconds, but how many seconds would you say from that point to, during the all of you guys returning fire and the two of them trying to jump out of the way into this bedroom?
I think, 12 seconds is about the time from until I was in the parking lot and my lieutenant grabbed my vest, dragging me out so they could get the tourniquet on. So I would say the gunfire itself, though, lasted maybe entirely 8-10 seconds.
And I'm sorry, you faded out when you said 12 seconds was the time that you said 12 seconds was the time from what to you being in the parking lot?
From the time the door was actually knocked open until the time someone would grab me to help treat the wound.
Wow. So fast. It all happened.
It was extremely quickly.
So fast. Okay, so now you're out getting treatment. And Kenneth Walker, who was there with Breonna Taylor that night, who lived, was he shot at all?
No, he was not.
He was fine. Okay, she took 6 bullets. The coroner determined that it was one of your fellow officers' gun that fired the fatal shot. I mean, I don't know if that necessarily matters, but, all the officers were returning fire at that point. They felt like they were under lethal threat. She was not armed, should be noted, but it was difficult to see what was what in that dark hallway. And Kenneth Walker called 911, and this is what that call sounded like. Take a listen.
911, Operator Harris, where is your emergency?
I don't know what's happening. Somebody kicked in the door and shot my girlfriend. Oh, my God.
Can you check and see where she's been shot at?
I can't get on the stomach.
Okay. Is she alert and able to talk to you?
No, breathing.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
So that was released to the media and helped create the narrative of Kenneth Walker being an innocent victim of these overly aggressive cops who burst in there, scared him, and killed his girlfriend. What did you make of that call?
Well, let me frame that call, first of all. That happened, I can't remember if that's 8 minutes after or 6 minutes after.
You write 6 in your book,
made.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 6 minutes after the entry was made. But prior to that, more importantly, he had called his mother. And one of the officers that is the courtesy officer of that apartment that lives on scene heard the shots, came outside, and he happened to go to school with Kenneth Walker. He knew him personally, had his number in his phone. They talked all the time, he said, in that parking lot. He also knew Kenneth's mother. And Kenneth's mother and father were the first ones on scene on Springfield that night, as far as, victims' family. They came up to this officer and she said, Kenny called and said, they're at the door. And I said, who's at the door, baby? And she said, he replied with, it's the police. I've got to go. And he hung up. Now, if that's the case, then there's 2 things here. Number one, the way that was framed says that he knew we were the police when we were knocking. But second off, if that was misconstrued or taken out of the timeline, he still called his mother and talked to her for almost 2 minutes prior to calling 911. So then when he called 911, he still said, I don't know who's at the door. Somebody's at the door. But he had already, showed his cards at that point. But the investigation was a little bit sloppy in that area where there was no follow-up on that to see, all right, did we miss a phone, or did he call from one of Breonna's phones and, talk to his mom prior to us making entry? Or was this a conversation that took place after the shooting and he called his mother first?
You guys did not have body cams on, but the local, as I understand, backup came and they had body cams, and they caught, in one of many moments, they caught Kenneth talking about what happened. And in this video, he's blaming Breonna Taylor. Let's listen to that. This is soundbite 2.
How's your girlfriend?
I don't know.
Inside?
Yeah, somebody, I was banging at the door and she said, "Who is it?" And they just started shooting.
No, we down 3 times. Police search warrant.
There's somebody here dead? Yeah, my girlfriend.
Who was shooting? What kind of gun did she shoot?
It's a regular 9mm.
Did she shoot or you shoot it?
It was her. She was scared.
My God. Honestly, that's the first time I've heard that, Sergeant. That's stunning. There's no dispute that Kenneth Walker shot you. There's none.
Right.
And there he is moments after blaming it on her.
It just shows his character. He lies, and he does it with impunity. He didn't care. All of his recorded statements after the fact, whether it be in interviews with the police, they're all different. As far as what he did after the shot, or how the gun got in the other bedroom, or who he thought it was. Nothing adds up.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.